Hello, this is Mrs. Brown with the inverse property. So the inverse property is using the opposite. So when we're talking about addition, I'm using the opposite of A. When I add it together, it gives me 0. When I'm talking multiplication, I use the reciprocal, which means that I'm taking the number and putting it over 1. If it's a whole number, if it's something like 2/3, I'm flipping it. But then when I multiply those, it comes out to 1. So let's look at some examples. If I have the number 4, if I add -4 to it, I have $4, I spend $4, I got nothing. Okay. If I'm looking at, say, the number 32, -32, I would add the opposite, which would be +32. I owe you $32. I pay you back $32. I owe you nothing. So the inverse property of addition is whatever the opposite is of that number, you add to it to get 0. Okay. When you're looking at something like 2/3 and I'm multiplying, what do you multiply by in order to turn it into 1? You multiply by the reciprocal. In other words, you just flip it upside down. So instead of, I would do 2/3 times 3/2. This becomes 6/6, which is equal to 1. Okay. If I take a whole number like the number 5, any whole number can be made a fraction by putting it over 1, because dividing by 1 doesn't change the value. So I flip it over to 1/5. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So the inverse property for addition, you're adding the opposite in order to get to 0. For multiplication, you're multiplying by the reciprocal in order to get to 1. Okay? I hope this helps, and I'll see you soon.